Now to the second of our 3 candidate forums this week for key races in Jefferson County. The candidates vying to be Beaumont's next leader are here in the studio to tell you who they are and where they stand on key issues.
Fox 4 News presents Meet the Candidates, an opportunity for local voters to hear directly from the candidates.
Each candidate will now get 1 minute to introduce themselves. We drew numbers to see which candidate would go first, so we'll begin with Mr. Gary Senegar.
Good evening. My name is Gary Senegar. I am the president of Stop the Violence, business owner. I come from a long line of businessmen, educators, and what I would propose to the city is change, better infrastructure, more economic development, better city, safer city, and a lot of other things more to come. My name is Gary Senegar, number 4 on the ballot.
All right, Mr. Senegar, thank you. And next we have Mr. Joshua D. Yates.
Yes, my name is Joshua Yates, running for mayor, number 1 on the ballot. I stand for infrastructure of youth development, infrastructure of city streets and sewer. I also stand for a Medicaid expansion across Texas, the nation of Texas. I look forward to working more so with the police department as far as making this a better city. We have a level of 8 in the crime rate of Texas, and it's over 198 cities within Texas. And it's so much more to work with than just that alone. But again, it's Joshua Yates, number 1 on the ballot for mayor of Beaumont, Texas.
All right, Mr. Yates, thank you. And next we have Mr. Bill Lambert.
My name is Bill Lambert. I'm a candidate for the office of mayor of the city of Beaumont. I'm retired from the city of Beaumont as a firefighter with 27 years of service. I worked as a firefighter, as a fire captain, and my last assignment was in the Fire Administration Division, where I had 14 years of service. My experience includes budget development, personnel management, and various other areas. I know in developing the budget for the fire department, I have a very good working knowledge of the city's budget also. I have a significant amount of experience on the streets in various operations areas, and I believe I'd be a very good candidate for the office with my business and operational experience.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert. Now, Mayor Becky Ames.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Becky Ames. I am your mayor, and I would like to be your mayor for 2 more years. But to do that, I need your support and especially need your vote. As a mayor, we have to look at many different areas. I'm a business person, have been for 30+ years, and I've been the mayor for 12 years. I think I've done a great job. I'm well-rounded. I look at infrastructure. I think economic development is important. Public safety is important, along with quality of life initiatives and beautification and infrastructure, of course. I think over the past 6 to 8, maybe 10 years, the council has spent more money on infrastructure than we've ever done. I will talk about that a little bit more, but it's a quick 1 minute. So I would like to say, I'm Becky Ames, I'm your mayor. I would like to be your mayor for 2 more years, but to do that, I need your vote and your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Jude Paredes.
Thank you, Kim. My name is Jude Paredes, and I was born in Beaumont and obtained a degree from Lamar University in nursing. I'm running for mayor of Beaumont. My platform is greater transparency within the government. I believe that information about the public gathered by public employees at public expense belongs to the public. When you are videoed by your city as you drive down the street, this information should be accessible to you. Your interactions with your city employees, the information gathered about you should not be a secret to you. I'm Jude Paredes, and I ask for your vote for Mayor of Beaumont.
All right, and thank you all candidates for those introductions. Now we want to get to our first question, and it's one that addresses an issue that's top of mind for many across the city this week: Beaumont's crime. The murder of Anthony Wilson is one of a few in Beaumont in only about 2 weeks. It has generated widespread outrage, and 3 teens are charged with murder. The police chief and district attorney say many of the suspects, especially young people involved in crimes in the city, show no remorse. The chief called for parents to step up and get involved, and support groups are also trying to help. So the question is, if elected mayor, what would you do about the outbreak of violence? And for that first answer, we'll go to Mr. Yates.
Well, first, starting off, as you say, we can see that the high number of violence is coming from our youth. We need, as you say, more parent developmental programs. Some parents actually don't even know how to deal with their own children. So therefore, we need to get some action in where these parents can come and talk at certain times, or get them to knowledge to know where they can go and talk. Also, I feel that our police force also has a certain part in it that they need to do more so of a better job.
All right, thank you, Mr. Yates. Now we'll move on to Mr. Lambert.
Our police department has limited resources in personnel. They can only respond after the fact. What we need to give consideration to, as some have already mentioned, is facilities to assist the parents in development to raise children, and we also need facilities for those youth to occupy their time and spend less time on the streets.
All right, Mayor Ames.
Thank you. That's a great question, and that's one reason why I would like to continue to be your mayor. I believe that our police department does an excellent job. They have done an excellent job on closure of a lot of these crimes, but in addition to that, they're committed to work with different organizations to help these youth get past some of the issues they're dealing with. One of them is IEA, that was started by Regina Rogers. They have absolutely committed to work with that organization, and I think that will help immensely, among other things. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Paredes.
Thank you, Kim. My sister-in-law, Linda Barnes, was murdered in 2017, and so I'm well aware of the problem of crime in Beaumont. I think rather than blaming the youth, although crime is committed by criminals, so they need to go to jail, but rather than blaming the youth, the police department should also show remorse. If they shoot a tourist in the back, they should show remorse for that, because the youth take their example from the adults.
Thank you, Mr. Sinegar.
I will continue to do what I've been doing. I'm the president of Stop the Violence. Thoughts and prayers to all the family members, victims of surviving members, families of victims. I will continue to do what I need to do as far as be the president of Stop the Violence and continue to facilitate the need. An idle mind is a devil workshop. We need more trade schools. We need to equip these kids, take the guns out of their hands and put tools in their hands. Everybody is different, but we need to be those leaders in this community and give those kids another chance and better opportunities.
And that's time. Thank you, Mr. Sinegar. Now, here's a follow-up question for all of our candidates. Chief Singletary praised efforts from citizens and the Dowling West Neighborhood Association for providing tips and surveillance video in Wilson's murder. As mayor, you represent the entire city. What would you do to generate more involvement in neighborhood associations and to cause other parts of the city without such associations to create them? And for the first answer, we will go to Mr. Lambert.
Okay, neighborhood associations, neighborhood watch programs are essential to reducing crime in the city of Beaumont. Neighbors watching their streets, they know what the normal activity is in the neighborhood, and they can bring it to attention of law enforcement if there are abnormalities. So that's one way that you can deal with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert. Now, Mayor Ames.
Thank you so much. Another great question. I also believe that neighborhood associations and neighborhood watch programs are essential. I was at the press conference with Chief Singletary this past Monday, and that is one of the things that we drove home. They were able to apprehend these young people right away, and it was because of the tips from the neighborhood association. And our police department can only work with what they have, and they cannot be everywhere. It doesn't matter how many officers you have, they cannot be everywhere. So we have to continue to work with the neighborhood associations, which I have done.
Thank you, Mayor Ames. Mr. Paredes.
The entire city is videotaped and this information should be available to you if you're the victim of a crime. I know that I have reported crimes and asked for the video that's available, but it's not accessible to the public at this time. So I would, if elected, I would make this video that the police gather, that's gathered off the traffic poles, and that should be accessible to the public.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Mr. Senegar, I know you wanted to hear this question again. You represent the entire city, so what would you do to generate more involvement in neighborhood associations and to cause other parts of the city without such associations to create them?
Organization is key to unify, to bridge the gaps. We must coexist with one another. Black, white, red, brown, polka dot. We must coexist because pain is pain. What I would do is to continue to be more involved in the streets, more involved in every community, and to support them and know that when you do speak up for yourself, that you will be supported, you will be protected, and that's what I offer, and that's what I stand on.
Thank you, Mr. Senegar. Mr. Yates?
I do completely agree with Mr. Senegal on that part, but also going with that, you have to have someone who has been within those streets and within that neighborhood to show understanding. If you put someone within that neighborhood that these people, especially within the South Park area, Magnolia area, they're not gonna allow themselves to start anything of that type because they already feel threatened because this is someone basically into our land that we do not know. Someone who can say this but does not really go with that.
And that's the time for your question, Mr. Yates. Thank you. Now we move on to question number 3. Harvey, was